Thanks for lending me this book. I know where I want to go.
Oh, good. I have to turn this in tomorrow.
I'm going to Ireland. Where are you going?
I'm trying to decide between Italy and Greece. Maybe I'll know tomorrow.
Ma'am, are you returning that book?
Oh, yeah, I am. Thank you.
We're loading our carts now. I can take it from you.
Oh.
That's one of our most checked out items.
Thank you. It certainly answered all of my questions.
Well, that's great. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Have you made up your mind?
Yes, I want to go to school overseas.
How do you do that?
The answer is in this place somewhere.
she has a DVD in here that you can watch, and it will tell you everything about what you need to know.
Okay, cool.
So you guys go to the computers and check it out.
Hi, my name is Breck Brammer. I am the current Miss Arkansas Oklahoma State Fair. So far in my life, I have traveled to 16 countries and I'm currently 21. So I think that's a really neat opportunity to be able to experience so many different cultures at such a young age. This is something that I've really been privileged to experience and something that I hope to continue doing throughout my lifetime. So my first experience abroad was when I was 14 years old. I got to travel to France, Italy, and Greece and spend 3 weeks going throughout the countries. The organization that I was able to travel with is called People to People, which was started by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. It's an organization that he's created to promote youth and bridge culture gaps. It's so that our youth will be able to understand other cultures and be able to make connections so that our world can eventually become a more peaceful place. Throughout these 3 weeks and traveling through France, Italy, and Greece, I was able to meet so many different people and just be immersed in different cultures. I also had a host family in Italy, which I was able to stay with for about a week. To this day, I still keep up with them and I'm still best friends with my host sister. I'm actually getting to travel back abroad and stay with them in Italy to see her graduate from her university this summer. I also had my first experience at a beach when I was in Greece, so that was an amazing opportunity for me, and of course it's really hard to compare beaches now because Greece was so wonderful. My next trip abroad was to the country of Belize, which is located in Central America. This trip was through my church, where I was able to go on a mission trip and spend a week there, getting to learn about the people and getting to engage with them and have a vacation Bible school for the children. If you're all interested in studying abroad or spending time abroad, I would recommend that you reach out to your school. It is easier to travel once you're at a university level because there are different options and different programs in place that are easily accessible by the students there. So the way that I determined where I would attend university in the US is that I made sure I picked a university that had really good study abroad programs. I knew that studying abroad was something that I wanted to do, and I didn't just want to go for a week or two. I wanted to go for an entire semester. So because of me wanting to go for an entire semester, that limited where I could go to university to have this opportunity. The way I went about that was approaching my study abroad office or your semester exchange office. There is a coordinator there who will be able to help you and talk you through the process, and every university and their partnership is a little bit different. So you have to kind of tailor-make that situation or that exchange to yourself and what you're looking to get out of it. There are dual exchange programs where you can trade places with an exchange student from a different country. So they would be here for a certain amount of time and then you would go spend time in their home country for a allotted amount of time. But there are also exchanges that take place where it's just one student traveling to a different country outside of their own. When I was a senior in high school, I got to meet a girl from Spain and a girl from Germany who became some of my best friends. They were here on exchange, and that was a one-sided exchange. So they were just here visiting at Buren High School, but I did not switch and go to their home countries. I attend the University of Central Arkansas, and we have partners in North, South, and Central America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. So if you go to UCA, you can go anywhere. So for me and for you who are looking to go abroad, it is super important to choose a university that has really well-recognized partner universities overseas. This is something that will allow you to have a smooth transition when you're looking to move your life abroad for 1 week to an entire semester. I was lucky enough to spend an entire semester, so about 6 months, studying abroad in Madrid, Spain. To be able to do that, I did have to have a passport, like anyone should if they're looking to go abroad. And then also, because I was spending more than 180 days, I had to have a student visa. This is something that I had to go through an application process, and I had to travel to Houston, Texas to get that visa approved. In order to get my visa approved, I had to provide documentation that said that I was financially stable, I would have somewhere to stay once I arrived in Madrid, and that I was in fact attending a university there, and not that I was just slacking off. The visa that I received whenever I traveled to Houston was good for 6 months in Spain. Throughout my time there, I was also able to travel through different countries and get to experience the different cultures that Europe has to offer. If you are above a university level and you still are wanting to travel abroad, you could also look into getting a visa for working abroad. This is something that I really am looking forward to once I graduate, because I know that I eventually would love to move overseas. One of the most amazing things to me about other countries is their language. I think it's so fascinating how different languages are derived from each other, but how they're all so unique. If you're looking to go abroad, it is wonderful to get an experience with a different language. I really do recommend trying to learn as much as you can about their language and how to speak it, because even if you aren't perfect or you're not fluent, because trust me, I'm not, you can still make an impression on the people that you're around. And it's better to try and fail than to not try and just be lost wondering. Something that is really important to note is the financial status of when you're traveling abroad. For me, it was extremely important to make sure that whatever partner university I was going to would also accept my scholarships that my university here in the U.S. accepts. If your university here in the United States has a partnership set up with a university overseas, a lot of times your local scholarships will transfer. So I was able to use my Arkansas Academic Challenge and as well as my Pell Grant. And that's something that a lot of students coming out of high school receive if you are from Arkansas. So that's very important whenever you're looking at where to go and how to support yourself financially. I also really wanted to show my independence when traveling abroad, so I didn't rely on my parents to subsidize me financially. They, of course, love me, so they helped me, but I wanted to show that I was able to do this, and I reached out and applied for different scholarships and different grants that were available to me through my university and through my partner university, as well as at a national level. There are many different scholarships, such as the Gilman and the Fulbright Scholarship, which are nationally recognized and very prestigious. I definitely recommend that you apply to these, but make sure you reach out and get help whenever you're writing your applications for these, because they are so prestigious. There's a lot of competition to be awarded those. Another thing when you're looking at a university is to see how many students that your current university is willing to send. So I know personally at the University of Central Arkansas, we send 2 students per semester to each of our partnerships. And if they're wanting to go on their own, they can do a direct enrollment, but whenever they do that, it's actually paying the school directly instead of paying UCA. So if you're wanting to do your in-state tuition and get to use all of your scholarships, then you really have to apply and have a well-written essay and a well-put-together application so that you can make sure you're one of those 2 students. But again, different universities operate differently, so bigger universities might be able to send a few more students to their partners. So at my university, UCA, we send 2 students each semester to each of our partnerships. If there's a student outside of those 2 who wants to attend that university, they're able to apply for a direct enroll, but when doing so, they directly pay our partner university rather than paying UCA. And this is extremely important when it comes to using your local scholarships, because they are not accepted overseas. So if you are relying on those local scholarships to support you financially, make sure that you're one of those 2 students. So really work on your essays, work on your application to just get it the best that it can be and make sure that you're a front runner in going abroad. Depending on what university you attend, could also decide if you're having to go in front of a different board of people to present your study abroad opportunity. For me, mine was an online application, an essay, and just a handwritten note about myself saying what I was interested in and how I thought that studying abroad would contribute to my overall experience at a university level. Depending on what university you attend also depends on how your application works. So some universities may require you to appear in front of a panel or a board. But for me, I was able to just submit an online application, a letter about myself and what I'm interested in, and also how studying at the partner university would contribute to my overall experience at a university level. As well as filling out your application, you also have to figure out which courses you're going to take while you're abroad. This sometimes can be challenging because different universities are better or not the best at putting down their courses and how they correlate or exactly what it means when they're offering that course. Different universities are better or not the best at submitting their courses and allowing you to see how they correlate to our courses here in the US. A lot will have course catalogs, and those are the best things because you can look at them, you can see their course descriptions, and you can compare them to the courses that you need here in the US. So whenever you travel abroad, like me for a semester, it's not that you're going to just slack off or waste time. I took a full 15 hours while I was there, and I was able to get all that credit transferred back here to the US and get those courses that I needed to accomplish my degree plan. Personally, I had my first experience abroad the summer after 9th grade. So I was 14 and I was going to spend 3 weeks overseas. You can imagine that my parents were a bit nervous, but I was so excited. This is something that as soon as I went and as soon as I got to experience those cultures, I knew this was for me. I knew that where I went to my college here in the US was going to be determined by their study abroad opportunities. I also knew that eventually I want to move overseas and that I want to have a life outside of the US. Even though I started as early as 9th grade traveling abroad, you don't have to start that young. It's never too late. Even if you're in your 80s, you can still go abroad, you can still learn about other cultures, and I really recommend you to do that. I think that it's really important that whenever you're becoming a junior and especially a senior in high school and you're thinking about going abroad and thinking about where you want to attend university in the US, you really need to think about the opportunities that that university presents to do a study abroad program. For me, it was vital to choose a university that had really strong study abroad opportunities, because if I didn't, then I wouldn't have that opportunity until I was already out of the university level. I'd also say that while you're in high school, try to learn about different countries and learn about where you might be interested in. There's never a bad country to go to because there's always something different and new and exciting that you can learn from that country. As I was in college, I didn't study abroad for the full semester until I was a junior. I really wish I would have gone earlier because it would have given me more time to do even more study abroad opportunities, but I'm so glad that I did take that leap of faith and did go for an entire semester. Whenever you're looking to apply for your study abroad or your semester exchange and you're already at the university level, think about it as a freshman, because even if you're not planning to do it until your junior year, it's really good to get that in your mind that you're going to work towards that and that you have a set goal for that time frame. For me, it was really important that I just kept knocking out classes that I knew would get me ahead in my degree plan and get me to where I needed to be within my major, so that when it came time to study abroad, I knew where I was headed, I was focused, and I knew what courses I needed to accomplish. So while traveling abroad, I learned that different countries definitely have different ways that they do their schooling and do their course cataloging, as well as their credit hours. So when I was abroad in Madrid, Spain, I received credit for ECTSs, which is a European recognized way to do your transcript. But I was able to take those courses and bring them back to the US, and because I looked at their course catalog before and got approval before going, they directly correlated, and I was able to get the exact approval for the exact courses that I needed here in the US so that I would stay on track with my degree plan, and it wasn't like I had to take time off or take a step back. Another thing to note is that some universities in different countries, especially in Europe, that's where I'm kind of most familiar with my information, they do degree plans based on different hours and different years. So for example, in Italy, you can do a bachelor's degree in 3 years. Now the 3 years might be a little strenuous and a little bit of hard work, but you are able to finish it a year faster than you are here in the US. And I think that's really interesting to see how different countries implement their different education systems. Another thing to note is that most European countries require you to do a semester-long thesis project before you're able to graduate. Here in the US, I know personally I have a thesis for my degrees, but I'm also taking other classes while I write that thesis. My thesis is about 25 pages, while I know that my friends in Germany are writing 40-page thesis, and that's the only thing they're doing this semester because it is so intense. But on the bright side, even though the thesis might be a little bit longer in Europe, the education at the university level is so much cheaper. So here in the US, we pay thousands of dollars per semester, but most countries in Europe pay a couple €100 per semester, and that's mainly just to include their transportation. One thing that I found fascinating while traveling throughout Europe was that almost every student my age, even the ones a little bit older, and especially the children, all spoke English. Of course, they knew their native language, whether they were from France, Spain, Germany, Italy, but their second language was always English. It's so strongly implemented within their education systems, and it's required to pass their classes and to go up to the next grade level there. I really thought it was interesting how no matter where I went, I was still able to communicate because people understood how important it was to learn other languages, and also make such an effort to learn English. English is an internationally recognized language, which I'm so thankful for because it makes it so easy for me to travel. But I also realize that that's the only language I speak, and that also cuts down the amount of people that I'm able to speak to and interact with. So because of this, I've really took it upon myself to start learning other languages and just work on my ability to do that so that I have more interactions and more connections with more people. Currently, I'm working on Spanish and German. I'm not the best, but we're gonna see how it goes. I was also blown away by my friends that not only knew their native language and knew English, but knew multiple languages on top of that. And of course you hear, once you learn another language, the next ones come easier. So my best friend, he is German, so of course he speaks German, he speaks perfect English, he also is fluent in Spanish, and he can read and write Latin. So he's basically unlocked the key to learning all the languages. From my first trip abroad when I went to Italy, I still am able to keep in touch with my host sister. I'm actually getting to go back this summer and stay with her and get to spend time with her and her family and see her graduate from her university there. Another thing that I found really interesting was that different countries have their semesters at different times of the year. So in the US, most of our semesters start beginning of August, end of September, and go until December, and then restart in January and end in May. But take Germany for example, they don't start until September, sometimes October, and they go till January or February. They take a 2-month break in February. Another thing that I found fascinating was how different countries put their semesters at different times of the year. So in the US, we mostly have semesters starting in late August and going until December, then restarting in January and ending in May. But take Germany for example. They don't start their semesters until the end of September or the beginning of October, and they run until the end of February, sometimes the beginning of March. Then they have a 2-month summer break where they're off March, April, and part of May. Then they go back in May and don't end again until July. Ever since my first trip abroad, traveling through Europe, I've developed a personal slogan, which was also the slogan of People to People, which I carry throughout my entire life. It's peace through understanding. I think it's so important to understand people and to develop an understanding of their culture and who they are as a person. I love to learn about other cultures, and I think it's so important to understand their differences so that you're able to appreciate them. This is something that has really changed my worldview and allowed me to appreciate things for what they are and to accept the differences as they come throughout the cultures. As I take my experiences that I've had while abroad and I compete in pageants, I work to promote my platform of Peace Through Understanding Cultural Diversity. Every time that I'm interviewed or I have the opportunity to speak to a person, I strive to make sure that they know how important it is to me to understand other cultures.
Were you voted into office with this crown on that platform?
So as Miss Arkansas Oklahoma State Fair, I did not have to have a platform. This is a pageant where you are interviewed, you appear in an evening gown, and you have an onstage question. But because I am so strongly dedicated to my platform and I want it to be a part of my life, I make sure that I mention it in my interview and make sure that I let people know how much of an impact that it's had on my life. As I compete in preliminaries for Miss Arkansas, you do have to have a platform for that pageant. And again, I take that stance and I just talk about my love and my passion for cultural diversity. With my platform, Peace Through Understanding Cultural Diversity, I work to promote that every single person has the opportunity to contribute to a world of change and a world of peace. I think it's so important that once we understand this and we develop the appreciation for other cultures, we are able to learn and experience a more peaceful world.